Since transitioning to a minimalist lifestyle back in 2015, I've noticed so many positive changes. I've also noticed that there are certain common personality characteristics that I notice within minimalists and that are further enhanced or developed once we start living in a minimalist way. So I want to share those with you today. Hello and welcome to Abundantly Minimal. My name is Sarah and I create videos helping people live their best lives with less. For today's topic, we're talking about personality characteristics of minimalists. Of course, though, people vary, so it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all approach. These are just characteristics that I have personally observed in my own life, as well as changes I've seen with others who have started to transition into a minimalist lifestyle. The first characteristic I've developed since becoming a minimalist has to do with becoming more intentional. In life, when we're just going with the flow or kind of sticking with what people expect of us or that we think we have to act, that doesn't necessarily align with the values we have or the vision that we hope to achieve in the future. And so when we start to let go of some of our extra possessions and we start to challenge that status quo a bit, we start to realize that, oh wow, the way I was living my life does not necessarily add up here. And it allows us to really think a bit more carefully about pretty much every aspect of life, and it becomes a lot easier to make sure what you're doing actually adds up to what you believe in. I've also found that I've become more independent since becoming a minimalist, and this happens in a couple different ways. Of course, I'm a bit more independent from the message of different retailers. They don't really affect me as much as they used to, or those insecurities that companies try to push on you so you buy a product, making you feel like you're not good enough or that sort of thing. So I think that's definitely been a layer. But I think also since I've taken the time to reflect and have become more self-aware, I'm also more able to do my own thing and not really care as much what other people think. I don't have to be worried about hurting someone else's feelings as much. I'm just more so focused on what makes the most sense rather than putting myself in a negative situation to try to make someone else happy. I've kind of realized it's less about that and more about being honest in your true self. I think it's also helped me become a bit more comfortable just being on my own at times too, and starting to really enjoy that more and not feel like I have to have people with me at all times. Living a minimalist lifestyle has also helped me be more generous. As you pull back some of the layers of your clutter, rather than, holding on to things so tightly, like, oh, I need that. It's a much better way to kind of understand and reflect about what is actually needed. And you realize we don't need that much to function optimally or survive. And our homes don't have to be a glorified storage space. These items can go to others. And I know with most of my belongings, especially if there is anything left that maybe I don't use as frequently, if there's someone else who could get more value out of that, I'm not really hesitating to let go of it. And I think also just the process of letting go of so much has made it easier to continue to do that. And it's not something that, causes any fear or anxiety. It's just a lot easier to let go now that I've done it so much. I think the next two kind of go hand in hand. Minimalism has helped me be more creative as well as flexible. From the sense of creativity, I've noticed that as I've reduced some of the clutter in my space, it's kind of allowed me to further develop different skills and creative aspects of my life that I previously hadn't been. Probably because I was so uptight and sort of stressed out by the amount of stuff I had in my space. And I think a second layer is just that through living a minimalist lifestyle and simplifying and also just living a much cheaper lifestyle at this point than I used to without some of that extra shopping, I was able to shift into a slightly different career path, going from a classroom teacher to being self-employed full-time with my two companies. And that's given me a lot of creativity where I shifted from a higher stress environment to an environment where I get to run with my ideas and try new things on a regular basis. So that's like a bonus layer. And I think with flexibility, as you start to live with less, you become a little bit less rigid about what different items can be used for and what you expect on a regular basis. This could be with stuff. For instance, in the kitchen, I might have let go of a few different appliances, and I'm flexible because I can use a different gadget instead. A common example I've talked about is all those different choppers and little one-off gadgets that you use in the kitchen that have one purpose, when in reality, having some basic knife skills and a chef's knife is something that can really take the place of a lot of those items. Being a little flexible and also the creativity piece, looking for alternative ways to use something, is definitely a skill that has developed more since I became a minimalist. And I think the flexibility stretches beyond our physical items as well. When I lived a very cluttered and stressful and busy life, I didn't feel like I had the flexibility if my schedule needed to change or if I suddenly had an unexpected task pop up. But these days, I feel like I'm a lot more adaptable at whatever the situation is, and I also don't stress out about these kind of things as much. I've sort of already hinted at this, but minimalism has also made me a lot more frugal. These days, we really buy very little that's not a consumable everyday item. I don't actually go to regular stores much anymore at all, besides grocery stores, and because of that, that's major money saved. Once you start to realize more what you actually need, as well as you see the effects of trying to bring in too much stuff into your life, you really do start to shop less, and when you are shopping, purchasing better. And I love being able to still treat myself to meaningful experiences rather than stuff, but even that still ends up being a cheaper cost and a lower cost lifestyle. Minimalism has also made me more organized. And I think this one's a little silly because there's definitely a push within the organization community or stores that sell organizational products to make you think that your clutter is not really the problem, it's that you don't know how to organize it. But I think unfortunately there are many people who are organized hoarders where everything has a spot, everything is organized, they know right where their stuff is, but it's still way too much, way more than they actually need. So I definitely want to make sure, to emphasize here that I don't think, the organization industry solves the problem. That being said, being able to get rid of a lot of my stuff has made it so much easier to be able to find what I need and to know where each item's home is within the home and where that belongs. And because of that, I have a lot more clarity than I ever did before. The next two go hand in hand and also connect to different relationships or interactions we have with maybe non-minimalists. And those characteristics are patience and courage, or being courageous. Now, I think minimalism is becoming a bit more common and more popular, but definitely back in 2015 and 2016, my husband Jake and I definitely felt a little bit of pushback from certain people who didn't necessarily understand the lifestyle or the approach or the reason why. That process, although I felt a bit frustrated at times, and there were definitely, some disconnect along the way, it was something that helped me be more patient with it. And it's also helped me acknowledge where people are coming from with their different perspectives. You see, what I have found is that it's really tough because society overall does push more consumption and to hold on to more stuff. There's money in that. There's business in that. There's not that same level of business within minimalism. It's the same reason why there are junk foods and unhealthy foods marketed to people, and you don't see, there's no broccoli lobby who's trying to get people to eat more broccoli. So same kind of rules apply here. When someone's only fed messages of consumption and that's what they see as normal, when someone's challenging that, they're going to have questions and they might feel a bit uneasy about it or feel like it's an attack on their values. So kind of reflecting more about this and witnessing this has led me to be more patient and understanding when I'm trying to have these conversations and to be really respectful that everyone's just trying to do the best that they can and they're operating on their own set of principles. Of course, if they want to talk decluttering and simplifying, I'm so happy to help, and I have a whole framework about how to help people do that, but that is just a way that patience has worked out. And I think also courage fits into this because whenever you're embarking on a lifestyle that's not the status quo, there may be moments that are awkward or where you feel like you're alone or that you have to defend yourself a bit if you feel like you're getting attacked. And those require courage. And while I feel like there's more minimalism awareness now than there used to be, some people still view it as a bit extreme and might be, unfortunately, a little bit judgmental about that. However, through the process of simplifying, hopefully you have, really kind of uncovered your truth about what you want your life to be, and it can give you courage to live that truth and not feel sucked into whatever the situation is that you're dealing with or that these other people are kind of projecting on you. Lastly, minimalism has made me more spontaneous. I must admit, I love planning. I plan out all the things. But at the same time, despite, my love of planning and keeping track of that sort of thing, I'm also totally fine with walking away from a plan and doing something totally on a whim just because it feels right in the present moment. While there are certain things that can be planned and maybe should be planned, you can't plan for a lot of what happens in life. And I love that from a minimalist lifestyle, I can be much more go with the flow at a given time, and if there's a certain situation that happens, positive or negative, I'm excited to, go on a spontaneous last-minute trip or be able to change our evening plans, try something new. It's just made it a lot easier, and I'm held back by less baggage, maybe physical items or just mental or emotional blocks, which I think is really positive. And also, while we're talking about travel, very quickly here, I am in the process of writing a minimalist travel book, which is all about planning better, spending less, and experiencing the trip of your dreams. I want to make sure I'm not leaving anything out in the writing process. So if you are interested in learning more about minimalist travel, let me know any of your top questions you have or things that you would like included in that book in the comments below. Just want to make sure all my bases are covered, and I hadn't mentioned it in a video yet. Now, I've definitely talked about a lot of different ways minimalism has changed me here, but I'm curious, did I leave anything out? Do you feel like there are any personality changes that have happened to you since you became a minimalist? I'd love to hear it in the comments below as well. You can check out some of our past videos here, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I'd love to have you as part of the community right here. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.